We go through different moments in our life where we are exposed to the lion's den. We go through different moments in life where we face seasons that were meant by way of Satan sending his demons and his army and his attacks against us. And we are in the face of a lion in his den, when all things look as though there is no way out, when all things suggest that we should be consumed by the situation we are in. You have faced them yourself. Your friends have faced them. Your family members have faced them. We have all been exposed to lion's den moments where you are in the pit of the problem, where you are in the pit of the situation, where you are in the pit of the circumstance, where everything around you reflects that you are in a position of helplessness, and it does not make sense for you to be able to get out of it lest God himself be the one that steps in divinely to save you and pull you out. We have been in those moments for a very long time in certain seasons in our life. You know what I'm talking about, when you did not think that your bills would be paid because you were laid off from your job and there was no way out. You were in a lion's den moment because you could be consumed by poverty, but yet God pulled you out of your situation and he made sure your bills was paid. When you were told by the doctor that you were supposed to die or that you had a sickness, you were in a lion's den moment. And the only way that you survived and you are here today is because God pulled you out of where you were. He pulled you out of your situation. He made sure your sickness did not kill you. He gave you extra years of life. You know the situations you have been in where your car got repoed and you didn't know how you were going to be able to go to and fro to get the things that you needed to take care of your family. But somehow somebody got sent by God to step in and ensure that you had transportation, to put money in your pocket to catch the bus, to ensure you had taxi money and cab money and Uber money and Lyft money, because God made sure that in the midst of your lion's den, he pulled you out. You know, the lion's den moments. The moments that test your faith, the moments that test your belief, the moments that test your trust in God, the moments where you have to decide, how will I approach my heart posture and my mentality in a place where I have nothing around me that says that I should survive, and yet I believe that God has the power to get me out. Who shall I be in the midst of the lion's den? You know, the lion's den, where it is dark and it is desolate, and the only thing that seems to have any light on it is the pain that we are facing, the thing that is supposed to consume us. All we can see in this dark den is the problem. But yet on the inside, we have to focus on the light within that gives us the confirmation that God is going to keep us. That place is the lion's den. Love here. Wait a minute. I say now, love here. I say now, love here. Oh, wait a minute. Make you come home early. Make you come home early, early, early. That's the kind of love that we get from God. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? And welcome back to another episode on Fourth Quarter Pressure, where you are always the more and never the lesser. And I have been sent here for this divine meeting, this divine point in time, to help you get the understanding that you are called, you are anointed, you are appointed, and give you the insight, the wisdom, and the knowledge that you need to apply to yourself so that you have it in your arsenal of tools as you face and overcome each and every situation that the devil tries to throw at you. So I am your host, CJ Stokely, and I'm excited. I'm elated. I am grateful. I'm thankful. For those of you who have never been here, welcome. This is going to be great. You are more than welcome. You are family. You are loved. You are accepted. We all go through things. And this is where you can take a load off, get the insight, get the wisdom, and apply it to your life and not be judged. And for those of you who are always here, my 4QP family, what it do, baby? You hear me? What's good with it, cuz? You hear me, fam? What good, man? You know what I'm talking about? Hey, listen, yesterday was my birthday, August 6th, on Wednesday. Man, listen, God is good. I'm grateful for another year to be alive. But you know, I do got a little bit of bone to pick. I got a lot of people that are tuning in and watching the podcast that follow the ministry and the movement of fourth quarter pressure. And all I asked for my birthday was some support to the ministry, for people to donate to the ministry. 5, 10, 15, 20, 100, 200, whatever it is that's on your heart to give. I ask that you guys will show support to the ministry, not to me, not in my pockets, but to the ministry. God got me, but to the ministry so that it can expand. And I only had 4 people. I only had 4 people donate anything out of all of y'all who watch and who are motivated and inspired by the fourth quarter pressure ministry and movement. What's going on, man? You sow back into what sows into you. So when the ministry has sowed into you, it is biblical. It is God's desire that you sow back into where you have been sown in from. Are you following me? So please fulfill my birthday wishes, man. That's all I ask. Sow into the ministry. Don't just listen and get all the information and apply it to your life. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of work. There are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that go into just this podcast in itself. Not to mention all of the other aspects that come with the fourth quarter pressure ministry and movement. So please help me expand this and show some support and donate. That's all I ask for my birthday. Show some love, man. Don't just get the information and get the benefit of it and not pour back in to where you're being fed. So outside of that, I hope, real quick before I keep going, remember, on Cash App at $, this is for QP, all lowercase. This is for QP. Fourth quarter pressure in caps will pop up. Fourth quarter pressure in caps will pop up. Please go donate, show some support. So now, next topic. I hope that all has been going well for you. I hope that since Monday, you've been having a great week. We have just crossed over past hump day. We're getting close towards the weekend. And as you know, I am big on making sure you get this information on Thursdays so that as you get ready to go into your weekend, you are motivated, you are inspired, and you are ready to reflect who God has called you to be, even as you go into the weekend, even as you go into having your fun. You following what I'm saying? So I want to make sure we are on our P's and Q's and we are ready and flowing in the spirit. So before I get into all of this, there is one thing that I must do. There is always one thing that I must do. And you already know what it is. And for those of you who are new, you're about to find out. You're about to find out. Huh? Glory Gear Apparel. Not the number 2, not the number 3, but the number 1 made just for you and me. Christian clothing brand in the world. If you have not yet, go over officialglorygear.com. Check out the website. There is something for every occasion. There is something for all righteous persuasion. There is something for you to put on your body and show everybody that you once was nobody and God turned you into somebody. Come on up in here, somebody. Come on up in here, somebody. I can't get my help up in here. Huh? I can't get no talk. Okay. Glory Gear Apparel is where you put on something righteous to let them know they not like us. Where you represent God and you help people understand that the righteousness of God is free. All you got to do is come on over. All you got to do is come on over. Jesus already paid the cost. All you got to do is accept him into your heart and believe that he is Lord and Savior. He died for your sins, and he will ensure that you are saved and a part of his kingdom. Come on up in here. So if you have not, go over, check it out. Officialglorygear.com is the website. And of course, as I always must tell you, we have something for the hey ladies. Huh? We got something for the ladies. It's called Edgy Chick. Where you find this wine tough as nails and you make sure don't nobody send you to hell. Where you put on the righteousness of God, but you let people know you ain't nothing to play with. You ain't no facade. Where you reflect that you all about giving God the praise, but when people come with nonsense, you ain't got no days. Where you let people know that God is the number one and I'm all about having fun, but I ain't getting involved in nothing that don't reflect the sun. Oh, come on up in here, somebody. Edgy Chick, It's where all the queens gotta go and put it on, know what I mean? So, going on over, officialglorygear.com is the website. Check it out. I'm sure you're going to find something that you like or love, or get somebody something for a birthday or a holiday that's coming up like Christmas, or if you want to get somebody something for Thanksgiving, whatever the case may be, just go and get you something. Go support and reflect the belief that you have that God is who he says he is and who you believe that he is. Are you following what I'm saying? And then we going to clock the T. You hear me? All right, so on this episode, we're going to get into this thing. On this episode, we are going to talk about the lion's den. The lion's den. The lion's den. The lion's den is the place that you find yourself in that was meant to destroy you. This is the place that people prayed and hoped for you to meet your demise. This is the place that it would make logical sense to all of those watching for you to die. This is the place where only God can bring you out and save you. We go through different moments in our life where we are exposed to the lion's den. We go through different moments in life where we face seasons that were meant by way of Satan sending his demons and his army and his attacks against us. And we are in the face of a lion in his den. When all things look as though there is no way out, when all things suggest that we should be consumed by the situation we are in, you have faced them yourself. Your friends have faced them. Your family members have faced them. We have all been exposed to lion's den moments where you are in the pit of the problem, where you are in the pit of the situation, where you are in the pit of the circumstance, where everything around you reflects that you are in a position of helplessness, and it does not make sense for you to be able to get out of it lest God himself be the one that steps in divinely to save you and pull you out. We have been in those moments for a very long time in certain seasons in our life. You know what I'm talking about, when you did not think that your bills would be paid because you were laid off from your job and there was no way out. You were in a lion's den moment because you could be consumed by poverty, but yet God pulled you out of your situation and he made sure your bills was paid. When you were told by the doctor that you were supposed to die or that you had a sickness, you were in a lion's den moment. And the only way that you survived and you are here today is because God pulled you out of where you were. He pulled you out of your situation. He made sure your sickness did not kill you. He gave you extra years of life. You know, the situations you have been in where your car got repoed and you didn't know how you were going to be able to go to and fro to get the things that you needed to take care of your family. But somehow somebody got sent by God to step in and ensure that you had transportation, to put money in your pocket to catch the bus, to ensure you had taxi money and cab money and Uber money and Lyft money, because God made sure that in the midst of your lion's den, he pulled you out. You know, the lion's den moments. The moments that test your faith, the moments that test your belief, the moments that test your trust in God, the moments where you have to decide, how will I approach my heart posture and my mentality in a place where I have nothing around me that says that I should survive, and yet I believe that God has the power to get me out. Who shall I be in the midst of the lion's den? You know, the lion's den, where it is dark and it is desolate, and the only thing that seems to have any light on it is the pain that we are facing, the thing that is supposed to consume us. All we can see in this dark den is the problem. But yet on the inside, we have to focus on the light within that gives us the confirmation that God is going to keep us. That place is the lion's den. And so as we talk about the lion's den, I want to go over to Daniel and the lion's den. I want to go over to Daniel chapter 6, verse 1 through 26. And I want to read the entire story, verses 1 through 26, so that we have a solid foundation of where we are going to go on this episode. Are you following me? We're going to read it all, and then we're going to break it down, and then I'm going to give you the information that you need so you understand what the lion's den is all about. Why do we experience lion's den moments in our lives? What should we take from Daniel? Because the God of Daniel is the God of CJ. The God of Daniel is the God of you. The God of Daniel is the same God then, now, and forevermore. So when we look at Daniel in the lion's den, what we can take from the understanding we get, what we can take from the revelation of this passage, focusing on the concepts and the precepts of the word of God in this story, is that God can do the same that he did for Daniel for us. So let's go into it. And it reads, "It pleased Darius, who was the king, to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by this exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. At this, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they were made unable to do so. They could not find no corruption in him, because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, 'We will never find any basis for charges against this man, Daniel, unless it has something to do with the law of his God.' So these administrators and satraps went as a group to the king and said, 'May King Darius live forever.' The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any god or human during the next 30 days, except to you, your majesty, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Now, your majesty, issue the decree and put it in writing so that it cannot be altered, in accordance with the law of Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed. So King Darius put the decree in writing. Now, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the king and spoke to him about his royal decree. Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or human being except to you, your majesty, would be thrown into the lion's den? The king answered, the decree stands in accordance with the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed. Then they said to the king, Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day. When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. Then the men went as a group to King Darius and said to him, remember, your majesty, that according to the law of Medes and Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed. So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, may your God, whom you serve continuously, rescue you. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the rings of his nobles, so that Daniel's situation might not be changed. Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night without eating and without any entertainment being brought to him, and he could not sleep. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in anguish, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions? Daniel answered, may the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouth of the lions. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I ever done any wrong before you, your majesty. The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him, because he had trusted in his God. At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children. And before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Then King Darius wrote to all the nations and people of every language in all the earth, may you prosper greatly. I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom, people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Wow. So now that we've read all that, I want to go straight into these points. Point number 1. The first thing that we can take from the story of Daniel in comparison to our lives is that favor has two sides. One side being prosperity, one side being pain. There is not only the good things that come from favor. Those of you who have favor on your life, you already know what I am talking about. Those of you who walk in the favor that God has placed on your life, understanding that there is something different about you. Regardless of what room you go in, you draw attention. Regardless of who you go around, people have a tendency to like you. You end up going places and get things for free. You end up going places and get favoritism because you have a certain level of favor on your life. But those who understand that that side of favor exists also understand that there is another side of favor, that other side being pain. It is not always sunshine. It is not always good things. It is not always success. It is not always blessings. It is not always access. It is not always elevation. There are things that go on in the spirit realm that manifest in the natural and show up as attacks. They show up as spiritual warfare against those who have favor on their life. And if you have been in a position where you have been confused, understanding, wait a minute, God, I know I got favor on my life, but why is it if I have favor on my life, I go through all of these things? Well, let's look at Daniel and his lion's den situation. He had favor on his life. Look at what happened. Let's think about Joseph, who had the coat of many colors that was given to him by his father. Is he not someone who walked in favor and yet his own brothers threw him in the pit? Is he not the same one who went through a tumultuous amount of trials and tribulations? So we have to start understanding that favor has two sides. And although favor is not fair, when it comes to you getting certain blessings and certain levels of access and certain opportunities, favor is also not fair when you get accustomed to having the blessings, to getting the access, and you do not have the understanding and are prepared for the reality that there is also pain and problems and persecution that comes with favor. Are you following what I'm saying? So what we must understand when we look at this story of Daniel and the lion's den, and we compare it to our lives, is that the same favor that made King Darius put Daniel over the entire kingdom was the same favor that made him hated to the point that he was set up and thrown into the lion's den. So this same favor that will bring people into your life, who will give you opportunities, who will give you authority, who will put you in a position where you are established as a leader over something, over companies, over businesses, over employees. People will bring you into positions because you have favor on your life. But when you get that favor on your life, don't sit up and act like you can't handle the negativity that comes with the access. See, favor will get you access, but that access and that favor comes with negativity. It comes with critics. It comes with haters. Have you ever noticed that the higher you went up in life, the more eyes you had on you? And because the more eyes you had on you, the more negative things people had to say. Everybody always got something to say about something, because when you have favor on your life, it makes people hate you because there is something that God put on you that is not on them. So you got to be in a position where you say, God, I am grateful for the favor on either side. I am grateful for the favor because it brings me into access. But I am also grateful for the favor regardless of the fact that I gotta go through people hating on me, people talking about me. Don't get to a position where you start asking God to relinquish you of your favor all because you can't handle the criticism and the haters and the people trying to set you up and the people that the devil is using to try to entrap you in something that you didn't even do, all because you can't handle it. As if there is not greatness on the inside of you, as if you are not called, as if you are not anointed, as if you are not appointed, as if you don't have power to lock in and say, get thee behind me, Satan. Regardless of my circumstance, I still have favor on me. I still am the same one who was who was put in a position like Daniel to be over the entire kingdom. Are you following what I'm saying? What else do we need to understand about favor? The favor God has placed on your life cannot be usurped by the evil your favor attracts. Okay, now here we go. The favor that God has put on your life cannot be usurped by the evil that your favor attracts. Stop worrying about the naysayers. Stop worrying about the haters. Stop worrying about the people trying to set you up and entrap you and say something bad on your name and get you to get out of your character. Stay focused on the good things that the favor brings, because at the end of the day, what you can be confident in is that the favor that you have on your life that makes you prosper will always prevail over the negativity that the favor brings. Are you following what I'm saying? Because regardless of the favor regardless of what people said or what people tried to do to Daniel, at the end of the day, he had favor on his life. That's why at the end of the story of Daniel in the lion's den, he still was prosperous. At the end of the story, he still was in a position of elevation, and they were fed to the lions. Their children were fed to the lions. Their wives were fed to the lions. And God will do the same thing in your life if you can just keep your peace. If you can understand that, yes, I have favor on my life, and yes, my favor is going to bring negativity, but the prosperity that it brings will always prevail over the pain that it brings. And if I stay in a position of being confident in God, then God will fight my battle. God will do what he does. The favor he has given me will show up in the midst of my situation because it is God divine. So it has no choice but to prevail. So there will never be evil that can usurp the positive prosperity that comes because of the favor that I have. I have the favor of God. I have the divine favor of God. I am touched by God. I am graced by God. There is an extra level of mercy on me. There is an extra level of power and divinity and anointing and authority that I have been given because God has a plan to place me somewhere so I can be used for his glory. So God would never let the negativity prevail over your positive, prospering favor anyway, because he got to get you to a position so that he can be seen. Are you following what I'm saying? He got to get glory out of you. He didn't give you that favor for you. He gave you that favor so that he can use you for his glory. So God's plan is always going to prevail. So if you start thinking that the negativity that your favor brings is ever going to prevail, remind yourself, this is God's favor because I am God's child and he's going to use me for his plan. So it has to prevail. And nothing can change it. Are you following what I'm saying? What else? What else do we need to know about favor? The same favor on you that calls for people to root against you is the same favor that will bring forth people with power to change your circumstance, ensure your prosperity, and sing the praises of the God that you serve. How do we know this? How do we know that the same favor on your life that made people hate you is the same favor that will bring people who already have power, who can change your situation, who can put you in a position to prosper, who will tell people all about the God that you serve, who kept you in the midst of your lion's den? How do we know this? Because when we think about it, from reading the story of Daniel in the lion's den, we see that King Darius issued a decree to all the nations and people of every language. So they translating this thing. They translating it. It's getting to everybody. Zimbabwe, China, Africa. It's getting everywhere. They changing the languages about what he's decreeing. And he states that all the people of his kingdom must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. So what you got to get to a point in understanding is that the favor that you have on your life will cause for somebody who has a higher position of authority than your haters, who has a higher position of authority than your naysayers, all of the people who have something negative to say about you. There is someone that will see you, and because of the favor on your life, they will come and assist you, change your situation, change your circumstance, bring you up to a level of prospering, and then turn around and say, the God of Ashley, the God of Sarah, the God of CJ, the God of Josh, the God of you is to be praised, is to be known. They will look at your story and use your testimony, not just to establish you and prosper you and pull you out and show you off in front of everybody who hated on you. They will also say out loud to others, this had to be nobody but God. This was God who did this. I am going to help you because I know that what you have on your life and who you walk with is God. And I know greatness when I see greatness. I know God when I see God. There will even be people who are not Christians who have power and authority that will assist you, and they won't know what it is that they see on your life, but they know they see something. They know it's something great, and that greatness is God, and you will be the one to bring them revelation. This is God that did this, and those individuals will be sent by God and are being used by God, while at the same time simultaneously using you to bring clarity to them that it was God that sent them, and it was God who brought you out of your situation by way of using them. Are you following what I'm saying? This whole thing, when you got favor, is all working together for the good of you. So you got to understand that even though you have favor on your life, you still might come in contact with a lion's den moment. You still might come in contact where people are talking bad about you. People are trying to set you up. You got haters. You are in the midst of turmoil, but yet and still somebody at the right appointed time will see the favor that you have on your life. They will see the God that you have on your life. And whether they understand what it is or not, they will have the power to be able to change your situation. And then they will show up and God will use them. And then all will know that this is God who did this. So don't be overwhelmed by the lion's den, because your favor, what God has placed on you, what God is giving you, is about to make room for you to get out. And not just get out, prosper. Are you following what I'm saying? Let's keep going. Point number 2. Your lion's den is no place for fear. Your lion's den is a place for faith. The lion's den that you are in, or that you may end up in, or that you have been in, has never been intended for you to operate in fear. It has always been intended for you to operate in faith, believing that regardless of the lion's den, regardless of being closed off, secluded, and still surrounded yet by a bunch of problems, a bunch of bills, a bunch of things that look like they are going to be able to consume you, and factually and logically outside of faith, there is no way out. That is not meant for you to be in a position of fear, because you have the understanding, my God operates outside of what is logical. My God operates outside of what makes sense, because I know my ways are not his ways. My thoughts are not his thoughts. So he has a thought process about my lion's den that I don't have. He has a vantage point from being up so high, looking down on my situation, being able to see angles on ways for me to get out of it that I don't have the vision to be able to see, because he operates on such a high level that I do not operate on. So I have to then use my faith to be able to have access to the peace that resides within my belief that God has that vision. Are you following what I'm saying? I gotta believe in the midst of my lion's den. Not be fearful and afraid, because if I am fearful and afraid, do I really have faith? Do I really trust in God's power? Do I really trust in God's vision and his ability to be able to see things outside of what I can see? Or do I force myself to be in a position where I say, get it together. Come on now. Lean on your faith, not on your own understanding. And in all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct how I'm going to get out of here. He will direct how I'm going to step out of this situation. He will direct how I am supposed to know that he is going to pull me out. He will give me the peace that surpasses all understanding, and it will guard my heart and my mind as long as I keep my faith in him. Are you tracking with me? So what must we understand when it comes to knowing that the lion's den is no place for fear but for faith? When we look at the story of Daniel, here's what we find, and I find this very interesting. There was never one time in the text that we see Daniel in fear. I'm talking from knowing that if he prayed to God, he'd be thrown in the lion's den. If you remember, after Daniel realized that the decree was set in stone, the first thing he did was went upstairs in his house to a window that was facing towards Jerusalem. And he did what he had been doing 3 times a day, which was talking to his God, praying to his God, worshiping his God, thanking his God. He did what he always did. The decree never stopped his regimen. The decree never stopped him reflecting his love for God, even though he knew if he disregarded the decree, it would put him in the den of lions. He knew that if he did not obey the decree, it would put him in a situation that he probably did not want to be in. It's almost like Jesus in the garden saying, but not my will, your will be done. So now when we look at Daniel, we see him essentially saying, Lord, I see what he decreed. I see what he's saying. And even if I was to fall into a position of possibly being afraid, it's not my will, it's your will be done. So even if he was afraid, it never shows up in the text because he never showed no fear. If he showed fear, it would be something to talk about. But he never showed no fear. That's why it never appears, because his faith was what was regulating his body language. His faith is what was regulating how he acted, how he carried himself, whether or not he stuck to his discipline that was rooted in his love for God. He was disciplined in his prayer. He did it 3 times every day. So he stuck to this regimen because what led him was his love for God and his faith in God, and not his will, but God's will's being done. Because if it wasn't God's will that was supposed to be done in his mind, he would have subject himself to something that was not righteous, something that he knew better than to do. So my question to you before we keep going into this is, how many things have you subject yourself to because you knew it was a possibility you could end up getting a consequence that you didn't want, even though you knew you were in the position of righteousness? How many times have you done things, or you subject yourself to things that fit within the confines of societal norms, all because you didn't want to be seen as the outcast? You didn't want to get called names. You didn't want to deal with the pain of what was going to come with the rejection, or with the setup, or with the problem, or with the circumstance that you were going to be possibly put in or factually put in that wasn't going to feel good to you. How many times have you not operated the way that God intended for you to operate, all because you knew, if I don't operate this way, I am going to be cast out and thrown into a lion's den, and they might devour me? How many times? Or do you stick to what you know is righteous? Do you stick to your normal regimen? Do you stick to still acting the way that God deems for you to act? Do you still talk with authority and with power power the way that God deems for you to? Do you still move with the fluidity of spirituality, identifying in front of all haters, in front of all naysayers, that I am who the I am says that I am the called, that I am the righteous, and I am going to walk in this authority. I'm going to walk in this power. I'm going to be committed to the core because I live for God. I die for God. So even if you got to take my life because I'm rocking with G-O-D, feel free, because it ain't up to you or me. It's up to him. Are you following what I'm saying? So which side do you stand on when you think about your life? What else? So first we see the knowing that if he prayed to God, he'd be thrown into the lion's den. And then we see to him being taken to the lion's den. There's still no conversation of fear. There is still nothing in the text that allows for us to say he was afraid. He wasn't afraid to keep praying even though he knew the decree. He wasn't afraid on his way to the lion's den. Now the consequence has become real. He is on his way to the lion's den. He is about to be thrown into it. How many of us have been in positions where we are walking straight towards something that we know is about to hurt? We know it's about to potentially end us. How many times have we been in situations like that, all because our thinking wasn't rooted on our faith? So we are saying out loud, oh my God, this might be the end. Oh my God, this might hurt. Oh my God, this is scary. Oh my God, this is this, that, and the third. But how many of us have been in that same situation all because we did not have a peace about us because of our peace being rooted in our faith in God? And despite whatever the outcome was, we were okay with losing whatever it is that we might lose, including our life, all because we cared more about our righteousness and our love for God. So we see Daniel sitting here on his way, looking the tomb, the den, looking at it right in the eye as he is walking each step boldly, getting closer to the dark den, getting closer to the seclusion, getting closer to being all alone, getting closer to being within the reach of the lion, getting closer to what some thought was the end of him, getting closer to what people thought was his demise, getting closer to what was supposed to be the final ending of Daniel's story. And yet in the text, it says nothing about him being afraid, because he was confident in his God. He had trust in his God. The faith that you have in God will allow for you to look a serpent, look a snake, look a demon, look a trial, look a tribulation, look a lion's den right in the face and still walk up on it. See, you're not following what I'm saying. He looked the lion's den in the face and still walked into it. He looked at his situation. He looked at the outcome that everybody else wanted for him. He looked at what the decree was going to get him because he didn't follow the decree. He looked at the consequence of the decree right in the face and he walked right into it. Why? Because when you got faith, your faith will make you look at something dead in the eyes that is supposed to kill you. It will make you look something dead in the eyes that is supposed to bring forth the end of your existence. It will make you look something in the eyes that is supposed to tear you up from top to bottom. It will make you look something in the eyes that will crush you down to the bone. It will make you look something in the eyes that makes no sense in your head for why you are here, other than because other people have set you up, talked about you. Even though you have lived righteous, your way of living does not align with what you are looking in the eye, and yet you will have the faith and the boldness and the power and the confidence on the inside of you to walk straight into it. That is what faith does. Because when you got faith, You are not operating by what you see. You ain't following me. See, this is good. You are not operating by what you see when you got faith. You're not following me. You're not following. Come on. When you got faith, you are not moved by what's in front of you, because what's in front of you is not dictating your steps. If he was afraid of what was in front of him, I guarantee you he would have fled. I bet he would have ran. He would have never been in a position where he was walking towards the lion's den. But he chose to stay and walk towards it because his faith is what led each step, not the people taking him there. Are you following what I'm saying? His faith gave him the peace and the boldness to stay right where it was and say, regardless, I'm going to walk this out by faith because God is going to get me out of this. God is going to pay my bills. God is going to pay my car note. God is going to heal my body. God is going to redeem me. God is going to elevate me. God is going to change my life. God is going to change my anger. God is going to change my frustration. God is going to change my addiction. God is going to loose me. God is going to free me. God is going to do all that I need him to do because I'm his. Are you following what I'm saying? So when you stand in the midst of pain, when you stand in the midst of all of everything around you that seems as though it's leading you into your lion's den, I need for you to remember who you are and have the faith of Daniel and walk by faith, not by sight. Faith being the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The outcome wasn't seen, but his faith still controlled his movement. You not following what I'm saying. The outcome of him getting out of the lion's den was not yet manifested, and yet he walked into the lion's den, free will, with a heart consumed with peace, with a spirit filled with power, with a mind set on God and his belief that God was going to deliver him out. And so he walked into the lion's den because his faith, understanding that it was the substance of things not hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. His walk was his evidence that said, I know I'm coming out. They're going to roll the stone over the tomb. They're going to put me in the dark. The lion is in there. But my faith says, keep walking, because regardless of how it looks, I am about to come out. And it is only a matter of time before God relinquishes me from my lion's den. Are you following what I'm saying? There is power in your faith. I'm trying to let that go, but you got to believe it. Daniel believed it. He knew. He knew. See, faith is the foundation of which we build our hope. It is the knowing. So Daniel walked into the lion's den because he knew, I'm not going to be here that long. He knew, I ain't staying. He knew God gonna keep me. He knew I'll be out in the morning. He knew I ain't worried about it. It's all gonna be over with soon. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna go ahead and walk, because y'all don't really have the power. God has the power, and you gotta look at your situation in the eye and start understanding your situation, your naysayers, your haters, everybody who has anything negative to say about you, every sickness you've dealt with, every situation when you look around and it says that you are about to be consumed. It does not have the power. They don't have the power. Your Father in heaven has the power. And when he deems that something changes, it will change the way that it is supposed to. Your only responsibility is to put your faith in him and watch what he does. Are you following me? Let's keep going. What else do we need to know about understanding that your lion's den is no? Oh, excuse me. Let me backtrack. I almost skipped the part. So first, we were talking about him still praying despite understanding the consequence would be him being thrown into the lion's den. Now he's on his way to the lion's den. And now we talk about him being in the lion's den. In neither of the predicaments or phases or stages in which all of this transpired, we hear nothing about fear. There was never any talk about fear. He has gone from understanding where he was going to end up to on his way to where he was going to end up, to now present in where he was going to end up. And we still don't hear anything about it. So can you keep your faith and not become overwhelmed or consumed by fear while you are already in it? Not when you might end up in it, not when you are on your way in it, but when you are actually in your lion's den. Can you still keep your faith? See, what I'm talking about is the moments in your life where you have prayed that something didn't happen, where you have prayed that the bills was going to be paid, where you had prayed you got that job opportunity, where you had prayed something would change in your life, where you had prayed your body would heal, and yet you ended up in a situation where what you prayed for did not happen. When you are in the midst of the lion's den, when you prayed and it didn't change nothing, does your faith change? When you pray and it was not answered, does the way that you reflect righteousness, does the way that you live for God and you love God change? Or do you stay steadfast, understanding that it's not my will, but God will be done? I'm sure that Daniel sat in a position where he first said, God, I know you're going to bring me out. God, I trust you. But even if you don't, I am sure that your plan is good regardless. So if it be that I die in the lion's den, then I am okay with that because I am operating by your plan. You got to get to a point in your life where you are okay with whatever the outcome is, as long as it's according to God's plan. You got to submit yourself enough to where you love God enough, to where you talk to God enough, to where you pray to God enough, that you are so tight with him, that you are so close with him, that you walk with him and that you talk with him and you do everything with him and for him, that when you are in a position where there seems like there is no way out and there may not be a change, you can still be content and say, well, God, if it's your will, then I'm okay with that because this is not my life. I was bought with a price. And whatever it is that you want to see, I am okay with because I love you. I serve you. I live for you. You got to get to that level of commitment instead of operating in fear. Because Daniel was in the face of the lion. He was in the den of the lion, completely surrounded by darkness, no light around. They had already rolled the rock over the den. There was no light. There was no nothing. And he is in there all by himself with the lion. And yet he has no fear. And that is where God intends for you to be. Are you following me? Let's keep going. So, what we need to understand when we talk about your lion's den not being a place for fear but for faith is that you exercise your faith through prayer. Now, what we see from Daniel is that every day, what allowed for him to operate in his faith, I believe to be his constant intimacy with God. Because his intimacy with God was the most important thing to him, despite him knowing what the decree was, despite him knowing the consequence of disobeying the decree. His number one priority wasn't following the decree. It was following what his heart desired. His heart desired closeness with God. His heart desired to reflect his love for God. So he talked to God. He prayed to God. He thanked God. He worshiped God 3 times a day at the same time. Consistent, constant, discipline. And that was his priority. So I begin to think within my mind that anybody who is always being close to God on a consistent basis has no reason to operate in fear, because the closer you get to God and the more times you exercise within your righteousness and your spirituality, getting into the intimacy with God, it will allow for you to walk around on a day-to-day basis consumed and covered by righteousness and the Spirit and the anointing and the power that resides within the intimacy between you and God. So now when he comes out of his prayer, he is walking around all day filled with the Holy Spirit, filled with the presence of God. He is walking around like a glowing light. He is operating and thinking on a spiritual level at all times because he constantly keeps going and getting fed by the Spirit. He keeps going and praying and talking to God and being intimate with God. So now when he is operating each and every day outside of his prayer time, nothing outside of this has the power to overshadow the feeling that he just came out of, because now when he comes out of that prayer, he still is dwelling in situations and circumstances with that same feeling. Are you following what I'm saying? So I begin to think in my mind, is it that maybe his reasoning, which would actually make perfect sense of why he never had fear, is because he was so close to God. And the closer you get to God, the more you begin to know God. And when you start to know God, and when you start to understand God, then you start to think about how much he loves you. Then you start to think about how much of a plan he has for your life. And then you start to look at situations in the face that are destructive, that are supposed to make you meet your demise. And you start looking at them and saying, now, wait a minute, I'm not finna fear that. I'm not finna trip off that, because that does not align with the God that I serve. God, I was just talking to you 2 hours ago. Why would I sit up and succumb to the fear of this situation when I'm so close to you and I know you the head of my life? You would not allow for that to destroy me. So you got to get to a point in your life where you start praying so much to God that your faith consumes you, where all you know is faith. All you walk in is faith. All you talk is faith. See, when you operate in faith, a lot of people will think you a fool, but it's because they don't understand. They don't have what you have. They don't have the intimacy you have. So you got to get to a point where you start being confident in your closeness to God. You got to start practicing more prayer. You got to start operating in more prayer. You got to spend more intimate time with God so that you get the power that you need and the confidence that you need and the understanding of who God is and the type of plans that he has for your life. Plans to prosper you, plans to protect you, plans to keep you, plans to elevate you, plans to use you for the purpose he has placed on your life. So when you find yourself in the midst of a lion's den situation, when you are looking at something that might put you in a lion's den situation, where you are in the midst of a lion's den situation, you do not operate off of the fear that the devil tries to consume your mind with, that he tries to consume your emotions with. You don't allow for that to take control because you have the understanding, wait a minute, I'm close enough with God to know that ain't got no power. Are you following me? So make sure that you exercise your faith by praying like Daniel did. Keep on praying. Keep on talking. Keep on staying close to God. Understanding. Wait a minute, God. I'm starting to get to know you now. I understand you now. You ain't gonna let this overtake me. You're not gonna let this destroy me. You're not gonna let me meet my demise regardless of how it looks. What else must we understand when we talk about your lion's den not being a place for fear but for faith? What we must understand is to not let our lion's den change who we are, or our trust in God, or our confidence in ourselves. Don't let it change who you are. Daniel was still Daniel before the lion's den, in the lion's den, and after the lion's den. How do we know? Because his favor didn't change. The favor he had on his life was still constant and consistent. What happened to him after he got out of the lion's den? Was him still being elevated? Was him still prospering? Was him still operating in a position of authority? What happened to him in the lion's den was him still operating with the same favor, which is why King Darius the next morning ran to the lion's den and said, hey, Daniel, are you okay? Are you alive? Did your God protect you? Ain't no kings coming off of their throne to run down to a lion's den for a man who disobeyed the decree, lest you have favor on your life. What is it about Daniel that made King Darius not be able to sleep, not be able to eat the night that he put him in the lion's den? How is it that the same man that commanded for him to be taken to the lion's den because he was persuaded and held to his own decree that he established and that he put out is the same individual that's super worried about the person that he sent into the lion's den? How does that make sense? It's because Daniel was still Daniel, regardless, he still had the same favor. He still was consistent. How do we know? Because when he was in the lion's den, he still trusted God. The same way he trusted God before he ever entered the lion's den. The same way that when he came out, he still trusted God. He still was who he was. So you got to figure out how not to allow your lion's den situation to change who you are. He knew he was going into the lion's den. He still did his prayer. He knew they was taking him to the lion's den. He said, okay, go ahead, take me. I'm still who I am. I still trust God. When he was in the lion's den and King Darius came the next morning, he said, God sent the angel to shut the mouth of the lion. Are you following me? God sent an angel to shut the mouth of a lion. Each and every different stage and phase we see Daniel in, he is reflecting righteousness and giving God the acknowledgement that he deserves. First, I'm going to pray to him. Now I'm in the lion's den. God did it. He shut the mouth of the lion. Now I'm out of the lion's den. And now he has King Darius making a decree to everybody else about how great the God he serves is. Are you following me? So you got to still be who you are, regardless of how much fear tries to show up, regardless of being faced with a lion's den, regardless. You got to have enough faith that you still be true to who God has created and predestined for you to be. Point number 3. And this is the last point. Serving God comes with lion dens. You cannot expect to serve God and not come in contact with the lion's den. You cannot expect that you are going to be serving and loving God, reflecting righteousness, making God known, praying to him, talking to him, and you are not going to face a lion's den situation. You are not on Satan's hit list. You are not somebody that the devil wants to destroy. You are not somebody that people want to destroy. When you have a certain light about you because you are walking in closeness with God, you are on a hit list. Just like you have to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow Christ if you are going to qualify for following him in righteousness. So you have to have the understanding, as you are now a believer, as you are now walking in righteousness, as you are now operating in a relationship with God and understanding that Jesus Christ came and died for your sins, you have to know you are going to face lion's den situations. There are going to be there. You cannot change it. So your question must be, why? And when you get the understanding of why, it will help for you to stop having a problem with the fact that they exist. It will help you to stop tripping about when they show up. So the question is, why? Why does serving God come with lion's dens? Because there is a devil who don't like God, so he don't like you. The devil's job and his desire is to make God look like a fool and to overthrow God. His desire is to replace God. His desire is to be God, but it can't ever happen. He doesn't have the power or the authority, so he operates in foolishness like he always does. The same thing that got him kicked out of heaven. He operates in foolishness. So what does he want to do in your life? Create foolishness to try to destroy you. Create confusion to try to destroy you. Throw situations, circumstances, attacks, worries, fear at you to try to get you to not reflect righteousness. But you got to stay in a position where you understand the only reason I am getting attacked, the only reason I am going through problems, the only reason I am facing a lion's den situation is because I am a representative of the great Father God Almighty. I am a representative of the I am that I am. I am a representative of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And so if I represent him, am I not always protected? Am I not always shielded? Am I not always covered? Do I not have an anointing? Do I not have a call? Do I not have a purpose? Is it not true that God is always perfecting the good work on the inside of me until the coming of Christ Jesus? So if that is the case, my plans are not over. My life is not over. I still got things to do. There is still days to come for me. So why would I sit sit up and act like any of this can stop me? Why would I allow myself to be consumed by fear or worry or doubt when I know at the end of the day, I'm going to come in contact with lion's den situations, and God has given me what I need, and he is walking with me in order for me to be able to get out of it, in order for me to be able to be set free, in order for me to be able to come out on the other side, knowing that I am has anointed and appointed me to be who he's called me to be. Are you following me? So why else the servant God come with lion's dens? Because God uses your lion's den to show his power. God uses what was supposed to kill you. God uses what people thought would destroy you. God uses everybody knowing you used to be an addict, everybody knowing you was in the streets, everybody knowing you was a bad person. God uses the circumstances and situations that everybody is looking at and saying they'll never make it out, they'll never come over this, they'll never make it to the other side, they'll never be anybody, they'll never get their stuff in order, they'll never be able to get this paid, they'll never get out of this debt, their bodies will never heal, they gonna die, this is the end of them, we won't hear nothing else about them. God will use your lion's den situation to show his power. Because when Daniel was in the lion's den, everybody who had any kind of common sense based on logic in humanity's form would have assumed and thought in their mind that this would be the end. The reason for why King Darius came and asked Daniel, was he still alive or did God show up for him, is because in his mind, based off his logic, it wouldn't make sense for him to still be alive. It wouldn't add up for him to still be alive. If he knew or had the faith that Daniel had, then he would have never asked the question. He would have showed up to the lion's den already knowing that he was there. The reason why King Darius was excited that Daniel was still alive is because he didn't have the same kind of faith that Daniel had. But Daniel knew what was going to happen. Daniel knew what was going on. Daniel knew what the outcome was. And so you have to understand that God, in that moment when Daniel was in the lion's den, showed his power. He showed everybody, including King Darius, that this right here, Daniel, yeah. He belonged to the true king. He belonged to G-O-D. Yeah, that's me. And I made sure that the mouth of what was supposed to kill him, the mouth of what y'all thought was going to destroy him, the mouth of what y'all thought was going to take him out, the mouth of his enemy, the mouth of what was supposed to devour him was shut. And I showed my power. So you have to understand, when you go through your situations in life, understand that you, instead of being worried, instead of being anxious, instead of allowing yourself to get real close to fear and steady trying to fight it off, you got to get to a point in your mind where you understand the counsel of God. How does God operate? Oh, God allowed for this lion's den to show up so that he can show his power. So when you see a lion's den, you should start seeing God's power. When you see a problem or a situation, you should start thinking about God's power. When you see circumstances and situations show up in your life that are supposed to overwhelm you, when everybody say you're supposed to be done, when everybody's supposed to say it's over, when people say you too old or you don't have it no more, this is when you look at your situation and you dwell on the power of God, because you have the understanding that in moments like this is where God shows up. This is when God lets people know. This is when God shows that I am his chosen. So I'm not going to fear because I know God's power is coming. I'm not going to worry because I know God's power is coming. What do I have to be intimidated by when I know God's power is right around the corner from my situation? Are you following me? So don't let yourself be misled or confused by what you see around you. Your lion's den is just about to be used for God to show his power. Last thing. God uses your lion's den to build others' faith in him and what he can do in their lives. How do we know? Because when we look at the very end of the story of Daniel and the lion's den, we see that that King Darius says, the God of Daniel, he rescues, he saves, he performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So you got to understand that the lion's den situation that you are in is just meant to be used as a testimony. Stop worrying about it. It can only be a testimony if you make it out to the other side. So when you come in contact with the lion's den situation, you got to trust and know this is going to be used as a testimony, which means God is pulling me out to the other side. Then he is going to use this to make himself known, to make himself look like who he really is, being the great that he is, being the king that he is, being the Lord that he is. He is using this to use me as a vessel who can be the example for other people to know this is the great God that I serve. And if he did it for me, he can do it for you. So stop worrying about your situation and stop worrying about your lion's den. Stop being fearful of your lion's den. Have faith in God and understand that you are going to come out every time you face a lion's den situation because God has to use it to get the glory out of it. He has to use it for a testimony. He has to use it for everybody else to look at and say, wow, I want that God in my life because you are the example and the vessel that God is using for his glory. Are you following me? So that's it for this episode, man. This word was powerful. This word was powerful. That's it for this episode, though. I hope it blessed you. I pray that you got something from it. At this point, I'm exhausted. I'm sweating and everything. I love you. I pray that you got nuggets from it. This was powerful. This was God divine. God had me to give this to you. I pray that it bless you, and I pray you use it and apply it to your life for your benefit so you understand the lion's den you face. You ain't got nothing to be afraid of. I love you. God bless you. And don't forget, please, donate. Donate. Show support. $, this is for QP on Cash App. Fourth quarter pressure and caps will pop up. Sow a seed into the ministry that is sown into you. It's the system of reciprocity, right? Sowing and reaping, okay? So please sow if you have been blessed by this ministry. I truly appreciate it. And do it for your boy birthday. You know what I'm saying? Do it for me. Sow into the ministry for me, please. So we can keep this thing expanding and growing and reach the people God intends for us to reach. I love you. God bless you. And as we always end this, you are always the more and never the lesser. And you and me, we are fourth quarter pressure. God bless you. I'll see you next time. 4QP family. This is a call to action. I need for you all who are blessed, who are impacted, who get motivation, inspiration, knowledge, and wisdom from this movement. I need for you to step up to the plate and show support. I need for you to donate so that I can keep doing what it is that you enjoy me doing, what it is that God called me to do for you. But this has to be a community. I cannot do this all alone. I need for you all to chip in, to pitch in, to put some skin in the game so that this movement can sustain, maintain, and keep progressing so that this movement and this ministry can expand. There are so many more souls, so many more lives that need to be impacted, that need to hear what God is saying. And in order to do that, there has to be financial support so that it can push the ministry forward. So please, if you have not already, all of those watching, all of those viewing, all of those supporting, all of those being ministered to, please go over to Cash App at $. This is for QP. Again, on Cash App at $. This is for QP, so we can keep doing what we do, because you already know we are always the more and never the lesser. And you and me, we are fourth quarter pressure. Appreciate the support.